Hey, welcome back, everybody. Great to see you on this Wednesday evening. Got an update for you on what is shaping up to be a big time winter storm pattern with at least one, potentially two plus major winter weather events over portions of the country throughout the next 10 days. And the first one knocking on the doorstep going into this weekend and into early next week. That one could drop major snow, major ice. And then another signal after that, right around the 10th of January, that could bring a snow to the south, including the Gulf states and maybe even into the Carolinas. We're going to break all of it down for you in this evening's video. Now, I will tell you, this will be a reoccurring theme throughout the next at least week or two, probably. A morning video with in-depth guide on everything, and then an evening video just breaking down the winter weather threat specifically. And some nights it will be a live stream, not a video. So if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do so. Hit that bell for the latest notifications. That'll make sure that you're the first to hear about this updated model guidance, a breakdown of that guidance, and really everything you need to know. Also, like the video, comment, let me know where you're watching from, and let me know if you want to see that winter weather where you are, or if you are ready to go ahead and kind of skip ahead to spring. Alrighty, with that said, let's go ahead and get started here. And it's all going to kind of, be in waves, this is. And I'll go ahead and stop the map right here that I've had looping. This is our latest blend of models for total snowfall over the next 10 days. And you'll notice a couple kind of bullseyes on the map. We're going to talk about these. Here's the first one. Excuse me. From portions of the Midwest through the Ohio Valley into the Mid-Atlantic, and then another kind of bullseye down here through the Gulf Coast states and into the Carolinas. And this is signal one and signal two for potential snowfall over the next 10 days. And I would say the models have come into better agreement that the first one absolutely is going to happen. The second one, a little bit more disagreement, but the pieces are on the table really in all of our major global models. It's just a matter of do they line up and how do they line up that could affect the forecast. So let's go ahead and dive into the first storm. This one will be a potent deal for many folks, and this is the latest GFS model, just came out really basically as I'm recording this. It's even still running, and you can kind of see what's going to kickfire this, or kickstart it, I guess, if you will. This big piece of energy coming in off the Pacific, moving into the Pacific Northwest, and eventually, as we go through this weekend, this is going to dive down through the Rockies into the Great Plains, and right around here, we're going to get low pressure to begin to form at the surface. We're going to have a pretty stout little trough here, and what this does in meteorology is on kind of the exit region of these troughs, as we call them, which is kind of this right-hand side where you see these lines beginning to curve up. That creates upper level divergence, and that is going to lead to rising motion at the surface, and that combined with a sharp temperature gradient between the Rockies and the plains, you're going to be able to spin up this low pressure pretty quickly. All the models agree on this. All of them say it's going to happen, and with Arctic air to the north, yeah, that's going to spell trouble in the winter weather department. You can see that piece of energy kind of crossing from Kansas into Missouri, then right over the Ohio Valley, and eventually into the Mid-Atlantic by early next week. So this is going to be a pretty long storm from Saturday to Monday, starting into the Rockies and getting into really the heart of the Mid-Atlantic, including places like Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and potentially even Philadelphia could get winter storm impacts out of this event. So just to show you again, like I said, the models are fully in on this. This is all of our models for the same time frame. This is the evening of this coming Saturday, all of them showing this piece of energy. This is the European model. This is the Canadian model. This here is the GFS, the one I just showed you, and you get the point. All of them in agreement. This is going to happen, and if we move this even further ahead into time, folks, let's say we'll go out to 138 hours. Actually, let's back it up a little bit more. Let's go 132 hours out. This is around next Monday evening, so less than a week out from now. This is the European. You can see this kind of strung out energy still left over as the storm is exiting off the eastern seaboard right around the Delmarva. And if I kind of circle that and show you some of the other models, there's the Canadian, there's the GFS, another form of the GFS here, the Icon, the UK Met. All of them kind of in the same vicinity. Now, little differences, but they all show the storm. They show it crossing west to east across the lower 48, and with it, the potential for major winter weather impacts. So let's go ahead and dive into that, folks, and give you the latest model guidance. Now, I'm going to refresh this because this is, again, hot off the press, the latest GFS that just ran this evening. And we'll go ahead and time it out for you. So this is Friday afternoon and Friday evening. I will mention we're going to have a little bit of a clipper system kind of swinging on through the kind of border of this very cold air mass that is currently working into the eastern half of the country. This could lead to some snow falling into the mountains of West Virginia, potentially even down into North Carolina, and a sneaky little setup for some evening rain and snow showers from DC up to Baltimore into the Delmarva. Not a big deal out of this little event, but could kind of be, I guess, fun for you if you step outside Friday evening and happen to catch some of those flakes potentially flying. But the real story is what comes later this weekend, and this is Saturday evening on the latest GFS time in the top right-hand corner of your screen. That is in Eastern Standard Time, so if you're watching in the plains, subtract an hour there, but you kind of see what's beginning to happen here. We've got ice breaking out, freezing rain in the pink, sleet in the purple, snow in the blue, and a good old-fashioned rain in green. That kind of really begins over portions of Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, heavy snowfall total potential into Nebraska and South Dakota, and then that battleground zone setting up from Kansas to Missouri, southern Missouri on this model, an all-out ice storm, St. Louis northbound, an all-out snowstorm. So it's going to be kind of a tough forecast depending on your exact town. And I think as we begin to do some live streams later this week, we'll pinpoint down exact locations. You can ask me, I'll answer it live for you there, but you get the idea. An absolute winter nightmare crossing the country, and just a full-blown winter storm develops by Sunday afternoon. Just downright nasty conditions over Kentucky, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, right through the heart of Missouri, and working eastbound. And look at this, by the time we get into the evening of Sunday, we've even got some ice or snow or sleet, kind of a wintry mixed bag trying to mix in here towards Danville, Virginia. The Triad of North Carolina, not completely out of the woods here for some potential winter mischief, but to the north, from DC into West Virginia, Cincinnati, and into Louisville, a beautiful big snow event beginning to unfold during the evening of Sunday. On the GFS model, we'll continue this ahead further into the overnight. This is about 1 in the morning, Monday, starting the first full week of January here on the 6th of January. And you can see that winter storm still raging. We've got ice along the Virginia, North Carolina line, snow up into the DC area, into the Baltimore area, and even a little bit of light snow trying to work into Philadelphia by Monday afternoon. But the storm begins to taper throughout the afternoon of Monday and into the evening as some upper level convergence kind of squeezes down on the system, and sinking motion overtakes the center of the storm, and it kind of loses that oomph it once had over the Ohio River Valley. Now, that's just one model. What about the European? Well, like I said, folks, the models are in pretty good agreement on this. So the only thing really to change from here on out is little wiggles north and south. That will obviously have big impacts on little towns depending on where you're at. It could change from rain to ice, or from ice to snow, or snow to ice. Either way, kind of right in this battleground zone, but the European very similar. The storm begins Saturday evening, and overnight here we've got a big snow event into the northern plains, an icy mess into portions of Kansas, Missouri, all rain into Arkansas, really all rain into Tennessee as well, outside of potentially the Cumberland Plateau here. Could get some ice mixing in, I think, by Sunday morning and afternoon on some of the models. But either way, a major winter storm event, same area, same general idea, maybe a tad further north on the European model here, getting that ice a little bit further north, the rain a little further north, and I guess really the snow a tad further north as well. Turns into a major winter storm into the mid-Atlantic from Washington, D.C., into the Delmarva, up towards Baltimore. And then another thing that we're going to need to talk about is this just absolutely feisty line of thunderstorms on the south side. This is going to be a dynamic system, folks. In fact, a severe weather risk will be present here on the southern side from Texas through Louisiana into Dixie Alley, which is crazy to think we could have a major ice storm in Kentucky and a tornado problem in Mississippi. And those states are not very far apart, so that should go ahead and tell you just how much of an intense clash of air masses we're getting from Old Man Winter and the spring-like weather that we had to end December. Going to really come into a full-blown clash as we go into the start of this coming work week, and then it gets on out of here on the model. Now, let's go ahead and break down totals for you here. What does this mean for your area? Are you going to see snow? Are you going to see ice? Is it just going to be rain? are you all in the clear? Well, snowfall wise, and I'll add, this is the blend of models. So this is not one model. This is a pretty reliable parameter that we use where we kind of put models that are doing well right now together. We find out, what model strengths are and blend them all together. And this is what it's coming up with for our forecast. A big snow event over portions of South Dakota. In fact, half a foot is the mean here over portions of the state and even down into Nebraska, up into portions of North Dakota as well. But the bigger totals are going to be down here. And this is in the Ohio Valley. Again, folks, this is the mean. These are not the outliers on the high end. This is a mean of half a foot to a foot of snow over the heart of Illinois, Indiana, southern Ohio, even Louisville in that half a foot range. And you'll notice it's a sharp cutoff. You get into central Kentucky, you're running about 2 to 3 inches on the snowfall mean. You get down towards the Tennessee line, and it's a dusting to an inch, if that. So there's going to be a sharp boundary here. Somebody's going to, get robbed here if you're a winter weather fan, and somebody is going to just be dealing with a very cold rain. But you get the point. A big shield here of snow coming from St. Louis over towards the Louisville area and then into likely West Virginia. That kind of corridor right into here, going to get absolutely clobbered with a big time snow event. And that's going to even extend into the mid-Atlantic, the big snow hole of the United States, Washington, D.C. Look at this, running, again, about a 6-inch mean or so on the models. And then you'll notice a sharp cutoff south. So a place like Greensboro, North Carolina, running about half an inch on the mean here, or the blend of models. You get up towards Danville, closer to about an inch or two. And then once you start getting up into the Richmond area and into Nova and into the Delmarva, much higher snowfall chances there. Another thing to mention is the northern cutoff here. Philadelphia, about a 4-inch mean, but you get to New York City and it drops to about a 2-inch mean. So kind of get robbed potentially, I think, here into northern New Jersey, portions of New York City. But once you get south, Philadelphia to DC, that could be the sweet spot with this one on the I-95 corridor. And for once, temperatures won't be the problem. Precipitation will be the bigger problem for our snow lovers. Now, ice also going to be a concern with this system. A pretty good mean here over portions of Kansas City of about 1/10 of an inch. Now, that's not going to cause huge problems, but it could definitely go up from here. We'll watch and monitor the trends. But as we move this map east and again over the Ohio Valley, that's where the storm's going to be a problem. Here into the Ozarks of southern Missouri, just south of St. Louis, southern Illinois, portions of southern Kentucky, even central Kentucky, and potentially the mountains of North Carolina and the Cumberland Plateau. Those are the areas I'm watching for big icing potential. You'll notice a mean of 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch on this map in some of those regions. That's more than enough to have just absolute travel nightmares. You add a little bit more, you could be running into big time power outages as well. I think the snow combined with this will definitely lead to power outages over this area. And like I mentioned, this is a feisty storm. So that pressure gradient is going to be tight. It's going to be increasing and could absolutely lead to strong winds on top of this wintry precipitation. Now, ice potential in the mid-Atlantic, not off the charts by any means, but from Raleigh, Greensboro, kind of points northbound into Danville and even into southern Virginia as a whole and the mountains of North Carolina. I could see an icing event out of this, probably closer from a glaze upwards to 1/10 of an inch. Places like Charlotte, Greenville, Spartanburg, I think there's still an outside shot that you could see ice out of this, but I really think this is going to be further north than you. But stay tuned, because that second storm, that one absolutely could be your storm to monitor here. But per usual with any winter storm, going to be a sharp cutoff. Fayetteville, Myrtle Beach, all that. I think you're going to be fine with this. Definitely rain out of it. In fact, maybe even a severe weather threat into the low country of South Carolina by Monday. Not a scenario that we can rule out is, I guess, the best way to word it. But either way, you get the point. The first storm, it's going to be a doozy. We're going to have problems, and it's going to be something that absolutely needs to be monitored. Now, well, what about after that? That's not the end of it, folks. This is straight from NOAA, the National Weather Service. This is not just, some college kid splatting random information on the internet. This is straight from the experts, now running a 20 to 40% chance of a heavy snow event from Dallas-Fort Worth into northern Louisiana, all the way out into the Outer Banks of North Carolina between the 9th and 10th of January. Folks, it's been a while since we've seen this from the experts. Last winter, a dud. The winter before that, a dud for some of these areas, especially out into the Carolinas. But this is impressive. This is about, let's do the math, a little more than a week or so out from now. We'll say 7 to 10 days. And the experts are not going all in per se, but definitely giving the early heads up that this area could be under the gun for a winter weather event, including that risk of heavy snow. And this is deep south. This is Birmingham, Jackson, Shreveport, Little Rock, DFW, Columbia, South Carolina, Atlanta, kind of south. All of those cities are in that circle. Now, does that mean everyone's going to see snow there? No. In fact, there's a chance nobody in that circle sees snow. But that 20 to 40% chance, a pretty high percentage confidence for this range. Now, let's go ahead and look at the setup. This is the latest GFS model, and again, just ran basically right before I posted this, or am going to post it, I reckon, this evening. And here we go. We've got a couple different pieces of energy. So we're going to start this right around here on the model. This is Monday of this coming week. Here is the storm that's causing all the havoc. There's the energy involved with it. Like I said, moving offshore by Monday, Tuesday, and weakening as it does so. But as that's happening, let me pause it right here. This is Wednesday, January 8th, the morning of. 3 big pieces of energy on the map I want you to know. Piece number 1 here, piece number 2 into the southwest. Let me make that a little bit of a clearer 2 for you. And then kind of piece number 3 into the northern Rockies. All 3 of these pieces are going to be crucial for who, if anybody, in the south in this area sees a big winter storm. How do they link up? Do they link up at all? That's the question. Now, what the GFS does is a solution, that is favorable for a big winter storm. This piece right here, piece number 1, that's our cold energy. That's going to dive south. That's going to bring the cold air with it. Piece number 2, that's going to bring the moisture. This is going to kind of help to enhance low pressure along the Gulf Coast. And then piece number 3 here is going to kind of tie the first 2 together. And you can see that happening on the model here as I move this ahead at a time. Notice the first piece brings the cold air, and then the other 2 phase together, and we get this big trough to develop over the east, and we've just got energy galore going on over what is an Arctic air mass at this point. And up here into Canada, I mean, that's a real Arctic air mass by the time we get about a week or so out from now. So that's what the GFS is showing. All this energy links up, and with it, you're going to get a pretty good winter weather event. And I'll tell you, the other models are kind of showing a similar story. This is, let me go back to the GFS. This is the GFS run that I just showed you. Actually, well, this is the one from the afternoon, but they agree. They're showing the same thing. Again, here's one energy, another piece, another piece. Here's the Canadian model. It's a little messier, but you get the idea. Here's the first piece, here's the second piece, here's the third piece, in different places for sure. But all the pieces are there. I'll show you the icon model, which should go out this far. Actually, I think the icon's going to be a little delayed. So let me show you the European. The European, like I said, the pieces are here. Displaced for sure, but you get the idea. Piece 1, piece 2, piece 3, the energy is there. And then if I show you the Euro AI model, same idea. We've got, I'll go ahead and clear the numbers off. Energy 1, energy 2, energy 3. So kind of, I guess the big point I'm trying to hit here is all of the models have the players on the field. The quarterback, the wide receiver, and the running back are there. The question is, how is the play going to unfold, and how are they going to interact to potentially form a big winter storm? And I'll show you the operational runs from this afternoon, and we'll start with the GFS once more, and except it's from the evening, not the afternoon, but that's good for you because that means this is the latest and greatest data. Here we go. We'll start this into that time frame. This is the 8th of January. You'll notice we begin to get some low pressure to develop right here along the Gulf Coast, and with it, that cold air to the north. You've got a little bit of winter weather breaking out over the heart of Texas right in this time frame. And then what happens next is that fizzles out, but the actual main show begins. Our big piece of energy comes through. This is the evening of the 9th, a winter storm happening in Dallas-Fort Worth, moving into Shreveport, moving into Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and eventually getting into the Carolinas, and then kind of working off to the south. A classic southern slider, as we call it. And what that means is snow chances, as funny as it is, or maybe not funny for you folks in the Northeast, with a setup like this, actually higher chance of snow in the south than in the north. Kind of, flipped from what you would normally expect during the winter time. Now, that's the evening run of the GFS. Let me show you the afternoon run. This is one that kind of went a little bonkers and phased these pieces of energy together in an even more favorable way. And here it is. You see all of that winter weather breaking out over Texas about the 8th of January, and then really cranking up, moving over the south and then you get just an all-out major winter storm from Texas to the Outer Banks of North Carolina between the 8th and the 10th or 11th of January. And that would cause, obviously, all sorts of problems in a part of the country that's not really equipped to handle it. Now, what about the European model? Again, I showed you the energy was there on the European model, but does it show a winter storm? Here's the first winter storm from this coming weekend. After that, though, here comes the energy diving south, and you'll notice it's very similar. This is the morning of the 10th. We've got the energy here into the Gulf Coast, and our northern piece is just a little bit too far north. They don't quite phase together, and we really just get a light little snow shower event. And then the storm cranks up off the coast of the southeast and begins to pull away. So both models have a storm. The difference is the intensity and the location of the storm, and that's what we're going to need to figure out as we get a little bit ahead in time. And I'll show you one more model. This is the Euro AI model from this afternoon, and this is a model that's done pretty well this year. I'll back it up. This is the storm that we've been talking about developing along the Gulf Coast. This is getting into January 10th, the morning of. This rides through the southeast, and I know it's all green for you, but trust me, on the northern side of this, right into this area, this would be all snow into portions of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and then absolutely cranks off the Carolina coast. And it's a major winter storm from Atlanta all the way up into Virginia, and kind of cranks and just pulls offshore as a major storm system. So definitely the look, all of the models are showing it. Like I said, the question is going to be, how do the pieces align, or do they align at all for that winter weather event potential? Now, the ensembles, what do they show? The all-important ensembles of this range. This is the latest GFS ensembles. Let's see if we don't quite have the evening run. So I'll show you this afternoon for our storm system, and you'll see that snow signal beginning to develop down into Texas around the 8th or 9th. Not a huge signal, but you'll see it kind of slowly fizzle upwards into the southeast. And like I mentioned, not a huge signal here, but a signal nonetheless. Now, the European ensembles, what do they show? Kind of a similar story here. You see those ingredients begin to increase down into Texas right around the 8th, the 9th, and then slowly increasing into the southeast by the time we get closer towards the 10th or the 11th. Now, final thing I can guarantee is it will be cold, whether we see snow or not. Rounds of Arctic air here. This is this coming weekend from our first storm system, the cold air associated with that. Another big burst of cold air behind it. You'll notice temperatures drop significantly, and they stay that way for the foreseeable future, all the way likely through the first half of January, staying chilly, if not cold, in the eastern U.S. Alrighty, folks, that's all I got for you on this evening. I'll be back tomorrow morning with another update on the current weather, the near term, and then everything to do with the upcoming winter weather pattern. Alrighty, with that said, y'all have a great one. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.